At the fore, at the stone, was a thing called hope. At the fore, at the stone, was hope, in a sense. Trying to understand mass graves. There was always carnage. Always. And yet, understanding it was just that. Prayer was called why. So at the fore, at the stone, 4-1. A simple thing called why. At the two was the mother called oblivion, in a sense. Oblivion, known as no hope, would hold the hands of time and then quiet. Why, is what she said, referring to what? Carnage. Can you tell me, Mother, why, in the time of Christmas, and on the other side at the two, don't start with that. Not with me. But like always, you want to know why. On a holy festival, in a sense, why someone would take a life. When the most difficult things to understand, why, when the celebration of a Christ child, if you believe in one, why, of all the times when people, what, shop, trying to think that is somehow to worship, and yet understanding what, for a moment, if even for that, you would think that someone would take a car and what, look at a countryman with so much hate, and then understanding what, some type of doctor in a sense, would roll them down, drive down what, a time when someone is what, thinking of someone else in a sense, and then drive them down. And then, like always, Hope would ask a question, and a choke, like always. The digger. Oh, yes. The digger. Always. It was called tierra, which means earth, sand, like always. And a choke. Always. The digger. At the fore, at the stone. Would weep. Tell me, how many must I bury today, is what he would say, with a choke. Always trying to understand the two was oblivion, with a soul in a sense. And in German, trying to understand, I was shopping. What I was doing was shopping for aunts. And then I'm here. And in German, asking a question to oblivion. Did I pass? In quiet with that. Oblivion with the eyes closed. Blind in a sense. Yes, you passed. And quietly, like always, understand something that wanted to kill things, and yet, like always, trying to understand quietly the soul she held in her hands. Quiet. You were murdered. Trying to understanding what had happened, someone in a car drove right back your countrymen and killed down you, in a sense. He rode you down, in a sense, and they did not seem to care. And to understand on the other side was just that of a beacon of hope. And quietly, oblivion that the two spoke. She spoke, you were gunned down. No, ran over, even worse, by a doctor. Understanding with a choke, in a sense. The digger, like always, appalled. A man with no head of state, would beckon itself as the Raven King, not a king, the earth, beckoning like always. Why? Understanding beacons of hope in a sense, understanding what that meant in a sense was madness. Quietly, the man who was her husband put it down to the ground. He wept. Children he had to raise, to understand, a wife gone. And what? This a time of Christmas. And then what? Down to the ground. Understanding what? Why, of all the things? On a time of what? A festival occasion? A gathering of family in a sense? A tree decorated? Promise of what? Reunions with family in a sense. And then like this, right down to the stone in a sense. Man fell right down to the stone and tried to understand his wife. The children now in his arms, trying to understand their mother gone. For what? Quietly, the man wept. He touched the earth, trying to understand with a choke in a sense. She's gone. The mother, who knew her daughter, also fell right down to her knees in a sense, trying to understand how could it be. Why would a physician, in a sense, take a car and what? Kill what? Countrymen, in a sense. A choke like always. Hope would always try to understand. At the fore, at the stone, was no hope. Always you would touch the stone and look upon it. It always said the same stupid thing. It always said no hope. She'd fall down stupid to the knees and weep. Why is it? When I try so much, I cannot even save one of them. I cannot. Always the stone would say the same thing on it. Hope always thought, every time she touched the stone, that the stone was hers. Always the stone said no hope. Choke. The man trying to explain what at a Christmas tree with what? An ornament of what? Of a David in a sense? A celebration in a sense? You think for just one time, just once, the killing would stop. Oblivion, like always, holding what? The woman. She looked up to the eyes of oblivion and quiet. Oblivion knew the man who grieved the most was the digger. She wept. Oblivion was that pillar of darkness, in a sense. She held the woman to her breast, trying to understand. Christmas. If Christmas was just one thing, just one day, that someone would stop the killing on this planet, that would be what it is. Christmas. Not in a box, but in a what? At a church or someone to gather with a family. At the fore. At the stone was a thing called hope. Trying to understand quietly, softly, why? Like always at the two, oblivion, quietly. The woman, her eyes rolling up to an what? Infinity in a sense. What? Oblivion I shall not judge. I do not know where you go. I do not. The woman in her arms, her soul in Oblivion's arms, understood, and she vanished. Always at the two, she shook. Oblivion, the mother, in a sense. Raft, in a sense. At the box, like always, she would come out on a shovel. And quietly, down the knees, she would come down, running. On occasion, she would do it. Right to the digger. A man, a cadaver in a sense. A bloat in a sense. No head of state. A raven king in a sense. And yet, like always, she would throw her arms around him. Quietly, he would weep in a sense. Trying to understand this good day. In the land of David, in a sense, there is what? A beckoning in a sense? Quiet. He would choke, and always she would put her arms, oblivion, would come out and throw her arms around what? Her husband, her father, in a sense. He would choke. Of all the things, dearest, you must know this. The thing that I hate the most is when this word, this Christmas, comes this way and someone goes down to the box. And the tragedy is simply this. Trying to understand this festive occasions, and like always, when I want to give up, when I want to put down the shovel, someone fills it. A hole in the ground. Someone down, and I must put them down. The business of burial is what I'm called a digger in a sense. She understood. The arms, he would weep in a sense. She would hold him close in a sense. On this Christmas, if only one thing I could wish for was just simply this, for once, that life could endure. That some holy day when someone could put down a gun, or put down what? Must you always be this in a sense? He would choke. And like always, oblivion would vanish right back to the two, which was in our hand. And the thing that held enclosed always was hope in a sense. 4-1. 5 meant to lie under the grace of a God. A God to celebrate. A birth, and yet, like always, a choke. Sir, Senor, must you be so cruel? On this day, must you be what you be? You are someone, and yet, like always, can you not raise up your dead?